All right, so for this next section, I actually have two sections of footwork that I want to look at for belly dance. The first group of 7 footwork patterns are a little more simple, and the second is a little more challenging. So we're going to start with first. Okay, so first step pattern that we're going to be looking at is our 4-4 step. It doesn't get any simpler than this. Honestly, you're just stepping right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Something that I learned from Sadie from Rocks Online is when you're taking your steps, not necessarily thinking of, leading with the heel or coming flat right away, but almost stepping down on the toe first. And I don't know, it gives it a little bit of a different feel and a little bit of a different look. So our 4-4 step, we're just going to take it forward and back a couple times. So it's right, left, step back, 2, 3, 4, and forward, 2, 3, 4, and back, 2, 3, 4. So as we get into floor patterns, you'll find that you can take this step or any of our other steps in a variety of directions through space. But just for this tutorial, we're just forward and back with this, okay? Now there is one variation that I wanted to throw in here for the 4-4 step. So it's the same count more or less, but rather than going 4-4 all the way through, it's going to be a 1-2-3 touch. So almost like thinking how we have, for example, 4-4 hips or 3-4 hips. This would be more of like a 4-4 step versus like a 3-4 step, if that makes sense. So in this case, all you're doing is you're stepping the same right, left, right, but on that 4, you're pausing and touching. So left, touch, right, touch, left, right, touch. And if you wanted to style this a little bit, you could add a 1, 2, 3 hip lift, 2, 3 hip lift, 1, 2, 3 hip lift, or add a little twist, and twist, and twist, and twist. Bring it forward, step, 2, 3, touch, back, 2, 3, touch, step, 2, 3, touch, back, 2, 3, and touch. So let's try those two together real quick. Just the 4-4 back and forth, and then the 3-4, just so you can kind of feel the difference. 5, 6, ready, and we step. 2, 3, 4, and back. 6, 7, 8, 4, 4 again, and back. Add the touch. 1, 2, 3, and touch. Back. 2, 3, and touch. Forward. 2, 3, and touch. Back. 2, 3, and touch. All right, so that's our 4-4 step. We also have sort of a variation. It's not really a variation. It's its own thing for our purposes. But in the Jamila Salimpour format that was developed around the 1960s, I believe, she named this move the Egyptian basic, and through a lot of our modern history of belly dance from the 60s to, I would say, probably the last 4 or 5 years, it's been called the Egyptian or the basic Egyptian. However, there is a motion that's going on currently in the community to move away from the exotic language and the culturally bound terminology and move into more of a descriptive language. So this is the movement formerly known as the basic Egyptian, but for now we're just going to call it a basic step touch. So very similar to our 4-4 step, but rather than doing our 1, 2, 3 hold, it's going to be a step, touch, step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. So it's right and touch, step and touch, step and touch, step step, and touch. And to make it in the more of the Salimpore stylization, you would add a little hip lift on the touch. In the Fat Chance style of this particular movement, Carolina Noricchio added a little bit of a hip twist forward, which is another stylistic option. But we're really, the footwork is just a step and a touch. Step, touch, step, touch. And we can take it forward, step, bump, bump, step, bump. Take it back on the right, bump, left, right, left, or left, right. So, step touch, formerly known as the basic Egyptian. Okay, so from there, I wanted to go on to our cross touch step. So the count is very similar, but the leg position is different on this. So with our basic step touch, we're just going side to side, like so. For the cross touch, you're going to cross the leg over and point the toe as you extend on the other side. So the weight is going to be on that standing leg, extending with the toe pointed as you touch out. So this is another one where it's very much a traveling step. It's kind of difficult to stay in the one position with your cross touch. Very often you're going forward or back, different ways in space. So we're just going to do that forward and back. So we cross, point out, cross, point out, cross, point out, cross, point out. Now to take it back, it's that same crossing and touching motion, but instead of crossing forward, you're crossing the leg behind and open. Cross behind and open. Cross behind and open. Cross behind and open. Now for a lot of our footwork in belly dance, we're not really lifting the feet very far off the floor at all. This is a style of dance that is very earthy. The connection to the earth and that energy is very important. It's very low to the ground. So we want to try to maintain our connection with the floor as much as possible with these movements. However, you know, there are variations, there are stylistic choices that are influenced by dances outside of the sort of classic belly dance world, and that's fine, but for a lot of these steps we want to really connect the feet to the floor as much as we can. All right, so related to the cross touch is our leg sweep. In ballet terminology, I believe this is called the rond de jambe. And this movement also builds up into our arabesque. So, for our leg sweep, you're basically, you can add the cross to it, but it's not really necessary. So the leg sweep, what you're doing is you are extending the leg back and pointing the toe. So again, thinking about keeping that connection with the floor for as long as you can. So that's number one. Number two is you're taking that foot and making an arc around. So we went back, and we're going around. The toe is connected to the floor the entire time, and we're coming around and through. Toe is pointed forward, and then back center. So again, on the right, we go back, around, and center. On the left side, extend back, come around, and center. And we want to also think about maintaining, especially as we're coming around and to the front, you have a slight turnout of the leg. And what that means is, so in a lot of our movements, we're keeping the legs sort of pointing forward. With a turnout, you're basically thinking of turning the foot out to a slight angle. And with that, it's not just the foot that's doing that. The knee is also turning out and the hip bone, or the hip joint, is also turning out in an equal angle. Okay, so let's just practice those alternating sweeps once again. We're going to take it on the right and sweep, left and sweep, right and sweep, left and sweep. Now let's try that traveling forward with our cross. 7, 8, so we cross on the right, sweep forward, cross and sweep, cross and sweep, cross and sweep, cross and sweep. And we can, just as with our cross touch, we can also sweep back. So we're sweeping toward the back, and then that cross is happening, the cross is happening behind. So you sweep back, cross behind, sweep back, cross behind, sweep back, cross behind, sweep back, cross behind. Now to make this into our arabesque, again, we're keeping sort of the same mechanics, but that standing leg is going to be very firmly planted down, and then the leg sweep becomes more of a leg swing with the feet coming off the ground and swinging around. And that whole, again, from the hips, knees to the ankles, it's all swinging as a single unit. Okay, so the arabesque for me is not necessarily a move I use a lot, but it can be a lot of fun and can be very beautiful as you're traveling around the floor. So we're just going to do that real fast. So we're going to step, arabesque, step, arabesque, step, arabesque, and step, arabesque, and back, open, open, open. You're pressing off that standing leg. All right, okay, so again, you're not necessarily going to see the arabesque much within this format, but I did want to introduce it because, again, it can be a lot of fun to play with. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the last so we got 3 more steps to cover here in this section. So I want to take a look at our forward and back rock step next. So forward and back rock step is exactly how it sounds. So you're going to pick a side. Generally speaking, this tends to be a very right-sided dominant move, but it's also accessible on the left. So maybe we'll do it on the left because it's a little different. Okay, so for a forward and back rock, you're just stepping forward, bringing the weight on the front, releasing on the right, rocking back the weight on the right, and then stepping back with the weight on the left. So it's a center, forward, center, back, center, forward, center, back. And this step does not have to be very big. It can kind of, even thinking about connecting the toe of the center or standing leg with the heel of the traveling foot. So it's coming forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. On the right we go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, and back. And this is a very fun move because you can add, it's such a simple, basic movement, but you can add so much to it. You can add different arm patterns, adding different layers, or shimmies. You can take it around, traveling. We have a lot of different options here, which again, we'll explore in other videos, but that's just sort of our basic breakdown of the forward back rock step. We also have our basic grapevine, which can be initiated a couple different ways. I tend to start with a cross. Some people start the grapevine open. I start with crossing over. So more or less you're just doing this sort of forward and back weaving pattern with the feet. So you step cross in front, open, take that same leg, cross back, and open. And that progression can stop there with a touch, or you can keep going, traveling, depending on how much space you have, but the pattern stays the same of crossing forward, open, back, open, cross forward, open, behind, open. I'm sorry I don't have more space here to kind of give you a longer demonstration, but we'll just kind of go back and forth from left to right side just to kind of practice that. So we cross forward, open, back, and touch. Forward, open, back, and touch. Cross, open, back, touch. Cross, open, back, and touch. And 1, 2, 3, and touch. 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 Okay, so let's just alternate between those two real quick, just so we can get a sense of the difference and how these can work together. So we'll just do a rock step, grapevine, rock step, grapevine. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, grapevine to the left, 2, 3, and touch, right, 2, 3, and touch, and forward, back, forward, back, and grapevine to the right. Okay, just an example, just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, and the last movement that I wanted to include in this section is this is another one where the terminology is in the process of changing a little bit. This is another one that comes out of the Jamila Salimpour format as far as how it was named. This is called the Arabic. We have Arabic 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to call this a rock step 1, 2, and 3, because that's really all I have at this point. But yes, this is the movement formerly known as the Arabic 1, Arabic 2, Arabic 3. So Arabic 1, this is one where we are basically transferring the weight forward and back, very similar to the forward and back rock step, but there is no back step on this. It's just going to be a down, rock back. So hopefully you can see my feet here. The forward foot is flat, and the back leg generally is going to be up on the toe in a sort of releve position. And again, the feet are not very far apart. They're very close together, and our step is not very big. We're keeping it very low to the ground. So we're rocking the weight forward and back, forward and back, forward, back, forward, back. And this is one that very often is stylized with a undulation or a pelvic roll. So we're just going to kind of add that, and you can add whichever one you want to. I'm just going to do the standard torso undulation from up to down. So as you're stepping flat, it's going to go up, tuck, lift, and tuck, lift, tuck, lift, tuck, step, step, and rock back, step, rock back, step, rock back. So it's just this transfer of weight from front to back. You can also do your reverse undulation with this step. You can, maybe you want to add sort of a hip roll or a figure eight, I should say. There are many different options for things that you can add onto this basic rock step. Okay, so that's rock step 1. Rock step 2 is basically going to be a shift, same sort of shift in weight, but we're adding variations in flat foot versus releve. and we're doing this in a count of 4. So for the rock step 2, you're going to go flat, toe, 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 flat, toe, toe, toe. Same mechanics, toe, 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 flat, 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 toe, toe, toe. Now to give yourself a challenge on this movement, and also the rock step 3, you can give yourself the same challenge, is really trying to focus on not bouncing in the head, keeping the head fairly level in space, because we can get very bouncy with it, and that's fine, and that's a stylistic choice and an option that's available to us, but working on really controlling that movement as much as we can just for the purposes of our drilling. Okay, so that is the rock step 2. Rock step 3 is same pattern. I'm going to switch to the left side just so we give the left side some love today. All right, so we're just same flat, toe, 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 flat, toe, 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 flat, toe, 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 flat, toe, toe, toe. Where the variation comes in for number 3 is as we go flat, toe, and we come up onto this, the toe in the front, we're actually twisting that hip back and coming around. So it's a flat toe, twist, and around. 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 Flat toe, 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 flat toe, twist, twist, flat toe, twist, twist, flat toe, twist, twist. Okay, and that is our footwork series number 1.